course, the complete Bhagavad-Gita is very, very important. But today we will talk about the last uh, 6 chapters of the Bhagavad-Gita, typically called as Jnana Yoga. So in this Bhagavad-Gita, there are, as we know, 18 chapters. So the first 6 chapters are called as Karma Yoga. The middle 6 chapters are called as Bhakti Yoga, and the last 6 chapters are called as Jnana Yoga. Now, till the end of the 12th chapter in the Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna was explained about devotional service. Now, starting from chapter 13, there will be an explanation of the 3 modes of material nature, how these modes will actually work and how you can get free from them. So how are you acting in this way? So that is the question. So Arjuna begins with asking a technical question. What is kshetra and what is kshetrajna? Kshetra, kshetrajna. So this body should be seen as a vehicle. So jnana means to see everything in the right perspective. But unfortunately, the jnana yogis see everything as self-controlled. Like Krishna wants to correct the conception that everything is not self-controlled. It is controlled by Krishna. So that is the conclusion it will come. But it will be explained in very much detail. Krishna talks about kshetra, kshetrajna. So this body is comprised of 2 people. One is the kshetra, that is the field of activity. So this body is a field of activity. And the soul is kshetrajna. So one who is acting in this field, just like there is a field, farm. There is a farm, okay? And in this farm, there is agriculture happening. So the farmer is sowing the seeds in that farm and is watering those seeds. He is putting fertilizer, he is putting pesticides, whatever, and he is trying to grow his crop. So the farm, the agricultural field is this body. The farmer is you. And the owner of this farm is Krishna. So Krishna has given you this body, and depending on what kind of seeds you sow in this body and cultivate this field, the fruits of this, the crops that are growing, the fruit of the crops that are growing, he will continue the lease, or he will give you a better body. So this body is considered as the field of activity. The one who performs this activity is the Atma. One who observes this activity and gives you the result is a Param Atma. Now, what controls this body? What is actually made up of this, makes up this body? For example, you know, when you use an agricultural field, the type of soil, the kind of seed, the water that you use, fertilizer that you use, all these things matter. But the type of land and soil, this is very, very important. So similarly, we will find in the Bhagavad Gita that this land and soil that is there, so that is this body. So the type of body, it is in certain guna. The human body, any body, that is the plant, animal, any physical, metaphysical, subtle body is actually made up of three guna. So that is the explanation in the 14th chapter. So the three gunas. So how everything is made up of three gunas. So this body has three gunas: sattva guna, rajo guna, tamo guna. And this body has a tendency to be in sattva guna, rajo guna, tamo guna. How we cultivate this gunas within us? By our activities. So that is why Krishna talks about jnana, these activities, how certain activity leads to a certain kind of result which gives you a certain guna. For example, if I go to a bar, then don't expect that I will go into meditational ecstasy. No, if I go to a bar with that smell, with that thing, I will get kind of buzzed off. I'll get depressed. But for a person in tamoguna, that is joy. Oh, wow, what smell? Nice smelling meat. So nice. He's thinking, he's playing whistle. I've gone to some, in Florida, some places, and they tell some guy, some young guy, okay, we'll give you free beer. Go outside and just say how our bar is so nice and happy you can dance. So everybody is coming out and they're just trying to advertise, oh, we are happy. So everything in this world is made up of three gunas. And the gunas control the body. Now I drink alcohol. No, I don't drink. I'm just saying, if I drink alcohol, then what happens to me? Are you control of yourself, or does the alcohol control you? So the alcohol controls you. When you are angry, does the anger control you, or you control anger? Your mind completely goes off. And then you are so, anger means uncontrolled talk. Isn't it? So this gunas, these lower gunas, they control, then it is dangerous. So there are three types of gunas. So Krishna glorifies sattva guna. So a brahmana is supposed to be in sattva guna. A devotee is supposed to be in sattva guna. What is the characteristics of sattva guna? Sattve laghu prakashakam. Laghu means everything is light. For example, if you find somebody who comes up with a dark red dress, goggles with so much scent, and it's like a lot of hair, fully, like, what do you call, in other words, dinchak, right? So he comes up, it's like Rajoguna. He wants to attract by his body. But Sattva-guna means he wants to have proper interaction with the others. No aggression. His force is spiritual. Sattve lagu prakashakam. So Sattva-guna is one that of lightness. And the food, if you want to understand what guna they are in, just look at their food. So if they are in Sattva guna, what they will eat? They will eat things which are peaceful, which are healthy. Like if you without too much mirchi, without too much spices, simple foods. But when you are in Rajoguna, then you eat like very spicy, very nice. You want to be. But when you are in Tamoguna, then you eat meat, you drink alcohol, you can be attracted by anything that makes your body kind of get out of normal mode of thinking. For example, TGIF, right? Thank God it's Friday. It's Sunday today. But TGIF, as soon as their work is over on Friday, they go, they booze, they fall off because they just want to forget what they did for the whole week. So Tamoguna means you don't want to be in this reality. So that's why people drink. After they work hard, they just want to shut off their mind. Whole day they work hard, and that whole thing rings around you, and you want to forget about it, because what you work, the kind of work that you do, that rings in your mind. And if you want to get in Tamoguna and forget about it, so then you drink, then you do all these kind of things, you eat meat, things like that, you dance, you date, right? So dating sites, what is dating sites? So, and then Rajoguna, basically sex pleasure in this world, completely Rajoguna, completely illusional, like when college life, when you are young, it's very well, everybody is trained up to see, oh, beautiful woman, this and that. Or for a woman, the man is beautiful. But then in the end, what happens is so many breakups, so many fights. Even in marriage, a married life, there is Sattoguna, Rajoguna, Tamoguna. Just for sex pleasure, if one is a hankering after in a married life, then such kind of a married life can be very, very pressurizing. So that is why marriage is meant for actually spiritual development. Husband and wife, if they understand what is God and they work towards Krishna consciousness, such a married life is very, very beneficial. But if you're in Rajoguna, just attracted by physical attraction, so then that is why in America, for example, there are 7 to 8 divorces. Why? Because the attraction stays for a year or two, and then, I don't like you, divorce. I don't like you, divorce. Then I love somebody else. You think somebody else can give you better pleasure, and they end up with 5 or 6 divorces. But in India, especially, or in Asian countries, or in Vedic cultures, or in Asian cultures, you are not just attracted by the physical. Of course, physical aspect is also needed in marriage. There is also physical attraction needed, right? But that is not the whole and soul. Even the king, they were supposed to be Raja Rishi, means he is supposed to have enjoyment also, but he is also supposed to be a sage. Even the sages have sensual enjoyment, but they are very controlled. So the same body, when you wake up early in the morning, but with the proper knowledge, you can control your urges. If there is no proper knowledge, then there is no control. So, so is everybody not able to see the video? So I'm just checking what happened to the video. Why are we not able to? because it does.
So I'm just checking what happened to the video.
So, okay. So basically, we find that the in the Bhagavad Gita, these three modes are very much explained by Krishna, and because of which the the three modes are explained so beautifully, and then it explains that we should come to Sattva Guna. So when we come to Sattva Guna, only one is able to see Krishna gradually. Because by coming to Sattva Guna, one is able to see things as it is. So main thing is to cool down your mind. Main thing is to cool down your mind. So in the Tamoguna, it is very, very agitated. In the Rajoguna, it is a little bit less agitated. And in the Tamoguna, and in Tamoguna and in Sattva-guna, it is less agitated. It is more controlled. It is more controlled. So therefore, we have to understand that in the Sattva-guna, there is a much better control of the mind. In Rajoguna, there is less control of the mind, and Tamoguna, there is no control of the mind. But we are all in a mixed guna. So we are all in a mixed guna. So there is a mix of sattva, rajas, tamoguna. So there is a mix that we undergo. So the mix is always, the modes are fighting for supremacy. So the modes are fighting for supremacy. So that is the main thing. So if we understand that the modes are fighting for supremacy, then we will actually find that every moment these three gunas are fighting and they are trying to gain dominion over us, over the soul, over power. So when the mind comes in contact with the body, so the mind is either in sattva guna, rajoguna, tamoguna, or gunatita. Gunatita means it goes beyond the guna. So sattva guna means the body is experiencing peacefulness. The body is experiencing, so sattva guna acts on you at different levels. So at a mental level, it gives you peace. At a physical level, it gives you less agitation. Intellectual level, it makes you think logically, because when you are very, very peaceful, you can think logically. When you are not peaceful, you are agitated. When you are not peaceful, you are very, very agitated. And when you are agitated, then you are unable to make a proper decision. Why? Because you rely on your material intelligence. If you are peaceful and you act on spiritual intelligence, then you are directly connecting yourself to Paramatma. because Krishna within the heart. Now, this is a crucial point which is already explained in the Bhagavad-Gita before, but Krishna is explaining this in a very, very different way in the Jnana Yoga for the Jnanis. Because he wants to explain everything, that ultimate conclusion is Krishna is the controller of everything. So here in the 13, 14, 15 chapter, the emphasis is on understanding of the three modes of nature and how the body is controlled by the Paramatma, by Krishna. So Krishna is controlling so Krishna is controlling the action and reaction. Man proposes, God disposes. So according to the gunas, you can go very, very low. And we have most of the time, we are in illusion. Most of the time, 99% of the time, we are in illusion, thinking what we can do. Just like they say, everybody can be a billionaire, everybody can be a trillionaire, everybody can be a zillionaire. Everybody in this world is running around with this particular notion. Oh, one day I will be very rich. One day I will be very successful. Isn't it? So one day I will be rich, one day I will be successful, one day I will be this, one day I will be that. Huh? So I'm just continuing with the audio for this. I'm seeing that in the YouTube I'm not getting the video. But anyway, we'll continue with the class and I will re-record the session with video another time and I will upload it. But for this class, to stop it and restart will be very, very tough. So we'll continue with the audio and I will upload it next time. So we see that in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is encouraging us to come to Sattva Guna. To come to Sattva Guna means to cultivate certain actions. Your actions, your thought makes you Sattva Guna, Sattvic or not. So our thought is that I want to be clean. But first of all, Sattva Guna comes with the 4 aspects which should be simultaneously done. That is no meat eating, no illicit sex, no intoxication, no gambling. So no meat eating is very, very important. Now, without meat eating, meat eating means violence. And when you eat violence, you become violent, grossly or subtly. Then, no illicit sex. Now, one thing we have to understand is that the human body does not need sexual pleasure. That is a very, very difficult proposition to understand, that human body does not need sexual pleasure. Actually, the human body the human body is designed in such a way that if one can focus his mind, he can get completely out of this attachment of material nature. Animals cannot do that. Animals are forced by the modes of nature in terms of sexual life. The animals are forced. But for humans, we have a choice, we have an option. So the speciality of the human body is that the mind can be trained for discipline. So mind can be trained for spiritual life. And spiritual life begins with brahmacharya. Brahmani charati iti brahmacharyaha. One who walks on the path of Brahman. So there have been a lot of books written also on how by not following brahmacharya, one becomes very miserable. So in this material world, because this pleasure has an end and it is an illusion, just like the body is an illusion. If you actually see, this body is an illusion. Sometimes we see somebody being badly murdered, right? You see the body being completely chopped apart. And sometimes we wonder, wow, people become atheists. Just like I read on Facebook other day, Bhagat Singh was an atheist. So you wonder, if I am suffering, that means God should not exist. That means, but in the end, we understand, if you really understand you are Atma, then you understand that all the pleasures and pains of this body are also illusional. It is very, very difficult for us to differentiate. So, for example, like we see when Annamaya was jailed for 2 years by the king in Andhra, when Annamaya was jailed, Annamaya did not protest. He did not think that, oh, this is, the Lord is horrible. No. But those who are materially conditioned, we have a tendency to think that material pain means, so material pleasure means that God is there, right? So this is a wrong thinking. So when you talk about the three modes of material nature, when you come to sattva guna, you keep yourself clean and you keep yourself focused. In that way, there is no undue attraction for the opposition body. For example, even if we want to think about sexual enjoyment, if you come to sattva guna, come think of it. The one thing is, what is sexual enjoyment? It is the coming together of parts, human parts, that secrete the waste of the body. Mutra, malamutra, it is so dirty. But when one is in the mode of passion, then for him that looks very attractive. So it is like a fire moth. There are moths that are attracted to the fire, and they are attracted very much by the fire, and they go fall into the fire and they burn away, right? So they die. So similarly, human being reduces his duration of life, closes down his aspirational mental aspiration, and finishes himself off by such temporary attractions. So if one can, Srila Prabhupada said that if one can overcome sexual attraction, then he is 50% liberated. So the mode of tamoguna is characterized by the attraction to the opposite sex, and which is very much non-human nature. Actually speaking, the nature of the soul, when reflected in the body by the spiritual activities, that is considered higher the nature of the soul when reflected in the body, that is considered higher. So, for the nature of the soul to be reflected in the body, we have to practice spiritual life. We have to practice yoga. So, if we focus on cultivating the nature of the soul, so nature of the soul is to be sorry about that. So nature of the soul is to be free from material attractions. So nature of the soul is to be continuously thinking of how to serve Krishna, not how to exploit other body for its own pleasure. So that is the difference. So if we come to this conclusion that human body is meant for higher service, and we come to an absolute conclusion that this meat eating, illicit sex, intoxication and gambling, this will not at all give us pleasure. If we come to that conclusion, then you are already on the spiritual platform. In Kali Yuga, to give up these four things is to be already on the spiritual platform. And to go beyond the sattva guna, to go to spiritual guna, then one has to take up other spiritual activity. And what is that? To chant the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare. So if you continuously chant this Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, so this Maha Mantra is very, very powerful. And this Maha Mantra actually gives us the spiritual strength by which we can cultivate ourselves spiritually. So one has to follow two disciplines to come out of this attack of the modes of nature. So the first discipline is not to indulge in these four things: no meat eating, no illicit sex, no intoxication, no gambling. So these four things we do. And at the same time, we also chant about the glories of the Lord. That is, we chant the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, we read the Srimad Bhagavad-Gita, we read the Srimad Bhagavatam, and Srila Prabhupada says that even if we desire to hear from others, because of that tendency to desire to hear from spiritually elevated souls, just that one activity can take you beyond the modes. So if you look at the notes that I made, so Arjuna opens chapter 13 by inquiring about the field of activities and knower of the field. So Krishna says in the 13th chapter that this body consists of three things. That is, there is a kshetra, that is the body, that is the field of activity, and we compared it to the agricultural field. And this field has two people. So one is the soul and one is the supreme soul. So the soul is the tenant and the supreme soul is the owner. The soul is the Atma, is the tenant who is given this body to plant the seeds, and the tenant is the tenant, and the supreme soul is the one who controls this body, and he is the controller, the supreme controller, and he decides in the end what kind of a body you get. Now Krishna explains that one can be free by developing knowledge, but to develop knowledge but to develop this knowledge, one needs spiritual qualities. And Krishna explains what are the spiritual qualities that consist of knowledge. So he says, Krishna says, humility, pridelessness. I will read the shloka. Amanitvam, adambitvam, ahimsa, kshantirarjavam, acharyopasanam, shaucham, stairyam, atma vinigraha, indriyarteshu vairagyam, ahankara evacha, janma mrityu, jaravyadi, dukkha dosha anudarshanam, ashaktir anabhishwangaha, पुत्रदाराग्रहादिषु नित्यं च समचित्तत्वम् इष्टानिष्टोपपत्तिषु मयि चानस्य योगेन भक्ते अन्यविचारिणी विविक्ता देशसेवित्वम् आर्तिर्जन्म संसदि आध्यात्मज्ञान नित्यत्वं तत्त्वज्ञानार्थदर्शनम् एतज्ज्ञानम् इति प्रोक्तम् अज्ञानं यद्दतोऽन्यथा. Humility, pridelessness, non-violence, tolerance, simplicity, approaching a bona fide spiritual master, cleanliness, steadiness, self-control, renunciation of the objects of sense gratification, absence of false ego, the perception of evil of birth, death, old age, and disease, detachment, freedom from entanglement with wife, children, wife, home, and rest, even-mindedness amid pleasant and unpleasant events, constant and unalloyed devotion to me, aspiring to live in a solitary place, detachment from general mass of people, acceptance of the importance of self-realization, and philosophical search for the absolute truth. All these I declare to be knowledge. So what is knowledge? To be humble means, that means you have knowledge. To be prideless. Somebody asked me, what is there to be proud about? Non-violence, tolerance, simplicity. So 3 ashramas in the human life are supposed to be simple. Brahmacharya, then Vanaprastha and Sannyasa. They are supposed to be simple. Approaching a guru, that means you are really seeking knowledge. Cleanliness, steadiness. So to be steady means you promise something, you do it. Self-control, renunciation of the objects of sense gratification. So these are all mainly one chain, but they are different aspects of the same thing. So absence of false ego means that you are humble already. So these are all different aspects of what consists of a person who has knowledge. So person who has knowledge, he is not proud, he does not have false ego, he sees birth, death, old age, disease as dangerous, he is detached from this world, he has freedom from entanglement with wife, home, children, and rest. He understands that wife and children are there, but they are meant to be worked with you. Your marriage life is meant for all of you to work together towards one goal, that is to please Krishna. Even-mindedness amid pleasant and unpleasant events, constant and unalloyed devotion to me, aspiring to live in a solitary place, detachment from general mass of people, accepting the importance of self-realization. See, these are all connected, and philosophical search for the absolute truth. Apart from this, everything else is ignorance, isn't it? So one must be intelligent enough. So that is what is called as yukta vairagya. So what is the yukta vairagya? Means one accepts things which are favorable for spiritual cultivation. So that is what is important. So if you accept things which are favorable for spiritual cultivation, so that is spiritual intelligence. So spiritual life means to purify the body, mind, and intelligence and become free from the attachment of material modes of nature. So if I wake up very, very late, if I sleep for hours together, if I am in tamoguna, so then the body is attached to tamogunic activities, laziness, uncleanliness, being unaware of what you are doing. So Krishna is emphasizing that one should eat proper, sleep proper, wake up proper. He has already explained this, but now he's explaining it in a very technical way. Why? Because you have to get detached from the modes of nature. The modes of nature are forcing you to act in a certain way. So therefore, if you want to change yourself, then you have to do tapasya. So that is what Krishna is urging everybody, that one has to do tapasya. So then in the 14th chapter, Krishna explains these, of course, more goodness, passion, and ignorance, and these forces that bind and control all conditioned souls within this world. A soul can, however, transcend these modes through bhakti. So bhakti means everything: waking up early, eating prasada, chanting the holy name, reading Bhagavad-Gita, reading Bhagavatam. So these are all bhakti activities. So thus the limitations imposed by the field of activities, by the kshetra, can be overthrown and the soul can be elevated to Brahman platform. Means the body now cannot be in a state of spiritual boundless happiness in the conditioned state. But even within the same body, if one can practice spiritual life, then he can be elevated to the state of spiritual happiness. The constitutional position of purity and happiness. So only in that Brahman situation can one experience boundless joy and go back to the spiritual world. So Krishna explains in the 15th chapter that to be detached from the material nature, one has to be attached to the Lord. And in the 15th chapter, Krishna gives the example of a tree at the bank of a river. Urdhvamulam adasaksham ashwatam prahuravyayam chandamsi yasya parnani yastvam vedasa vedavit. So, urdhvamulam adasaksham ashwatam prahuravyayam. That imagine a tree at the bank of a river, and the reflection of that tree, the top part of the tree is at the bottom here. The top part of the tree is at the bottom here. So what is the highest spiritual pleasure is the lowest here. So what is the highest spiritual pleasure? So Krishna with the gopis is out of marriage is the highest spiritual pleasure in the spiritual world, whereas in the material world, an affair out of marriage is the worst situation. So this material world, everything is a upside down reflection. So we have relationships, and these relationships are limited, temporary, and they give us, in the end, they separate. But in the spiritual world, we have spiritual relationships which are permanent, which are there forever. They're already there. Your soul already has a family member in the spiritual world. You already have a family in the spiritual world. Your soul already has a family in the spiritual world. So in the spiritual world, there is the spiritual family, there is your friends, there is your devotees, everything in relation to Krishna. So only thing you have to do is discover this, rediscover your spiritual family. So that is the whole goal. So for that, you have to discover Krishna. So to discover Krishna, so that is the 15th chapter, the yoga of the Supreme Person. So Krishna says, this material world, this tree, this has unlimited, this leaves, means the soul tries to go on enjoying one leaf after another. For example, now everybody had some pleasure in school. So after that, they go to college, and then they go to school, job. Now what happens is, now everybody has school reunion and they want to enjoy that same thing once again. Oh, how we were in school, oh, we did this, we did that, and then there is a cycle. So what we enjoyed before, we want to enjoy it again. So he finds that there is this different pleasure, this different pleasure, this different pleasure. But then some of these material pleasures, they become habit. After some time, we give up that habit. And like there is a new fad, like some people eat and drink a lot and they become fat. After some time, oh, let me lose weight, let me become thin. So then after that, he feels bored about it. Then he wants to become fat again. So we have a limited sphere of this enjoyment, and our mind rolls from one material pleasure to another continuously. And this is what is called as chewing the chewed. Means the same enjoyment comes back to you in a different form. For example, we had a tantric by name Atma Tattva Prabhu, and he had these powers of attracting apsaras and some women from these other. So there, all these outer force, there were some of these ghostly, and they used to come and say, we will come and enjoy with you in different forms, but it is the same person. So it is the same enjoyment in different form, right? So in this material world, everything is the same kind of enjoyment, but in different form. But very difficult to get detached until and unless one has a spiritual association. So one has to have the association of Krishna and his devotees, by which one can get the higher taste. So the soul can thus end his transmigration and return to the spiritual world. So although the foolish cannot understand that the soul transmigrates, quitting one body to obtain a new body based on his mind's desires, transcendentalists see this clearly. Now we are not able to see in general, that after death you take another birth, just like Charvaka Muni, an atheist, he says, Ranam kratva gratam piba. Take a loan and eat ghee. And then enjoy. Make yourself fat and enjoy. Yavat jivet sukham jivet. Try all kinds of material pleasure. And then bhasmi deyasya bhutasya. Once the body dies and becomes ashes, who has seen it coming back? So he says, the foolish can learn to see this properly by understanding that it is Krishna who is the splendor of the sun, moon, and fire, as the one keeping the planets in orbit, keeping the vegetables. Krishna says, I am the source of sunlight. So without sunlight, there is no energy. Krishna says, I am the source of the moonlight, which is the source of succulence to the vegetable. So everything that you see in this world is controlled by Krishna. So gradually he sees that actually Krishna is giving him everything. So that understanding only comes in Sattva Guna. So when you get that pleasure in Sattva Guna, then you are able to see and distinguish between who is who. So this is very, very important. So you are able to see who is what. And in this way, when we when we cultivate spiritual strength one by one in our spiritual life, spiritual qualities one by one, first of all, we have to become humble. Humble means to understand I am insignificant, I don't know anything. I have to accept this knowledge. I may not be able to see this knowledge right now, but by accepting this knowledge from the Guru, and if I practice this knowledge, gradually I will get the realization. So this is very, very important. So that is humility. And that is the first step of knowledge. So if you cultivate humility, then all the other qualities will follow. So first of all, become humble. First of all, feel yourself very insignificant. First of all, feel yourself very weak to understand anything. Become very, very humble. Become very, very prayerful. Become very, very greedy to gain spiritual knowledge. Become very, very humble and be prayerful, and always try to serve with all your heart. And when you develop this humility and the desire to serve with all your heart, all the other knowledge and qualities will come. So that one thing, that greediness and the desire to serve, that quality can change everything within you. So this is very, very important to understand, that all these things can, it's very, very important to cultivate these spiritual qualities, because Krishna declares these spiritual qualities themselves to be knowledge. So the devotees can see Krishna as the fire of digestion. They can see what Krishna has spoken earlier. So jnana means, so the jnani recognizes that this body is a machine. That's why he's not attracted to the enjoyment of the body, because he realizes this body is just a machine. And machine means you do this, it gives you that, it gives you, just like trying to enjoy your car. You understand it has limitations, but the car is not you. So this body has certain pleasures, certain pains, and it has certain lifespan. So, but this machine, yantra rudani mayaya, so this machine, how to oil this machine properly, so that is by the practice of yoga, Ashtanga yoga, meditation, keep proper health, spiritual health, in such a way that you are able to see within this body, see this body as a temple of Krishna, and that Krishna is the owner, and how I can use this machine to the best possible way in the service of Krishna. So Krishna is the fire of digestion. Krishna is the Paramatma in your heart. Krishna is the giver of remembrance, knowledge, and forgetfulness. He is the goal of the Vedas. He is the Vedanta Krit Vedavit Evacha Aham. He is the compiler of Vedanta. Krishna then reveals that knowing him as the personality of Godhead and engaging in his service is the ultimate purpose of Vedanta and the most confidential part of the Vedas. So everything we say, Sarva Deva Namaskaram Keshavam Pratigachati. So every Devata, even if they have to grant you anything, even if Ganesha has to give you something, if Lord Shiva has to give you something, any Devata that has to give you something, then it has to come through Krishna. All the Devatas, whatever you give them, Laddu, Kachori, whatever you offer, any of the Devatas, even during Ganapati Mahotsava or Shivaratri, being devotees, they will offer it to Krishna first. And when after Krishna tastes them, then the devatas eat. So why not directly offer to Krishna? So these devatas are worshipable, but they are devotees of Krishna. So they are worshipable as the devotees of Krishna. So ultimately, Krishna is the giver of everything. So only person who is ultimately worshipable is Guru and Krishna, because Guru is a direct representative of Krishna. So one has to worship these devatas and pray them that give me Krishna Bhakti. Oh Ganesha, please remove all the obstacles in the path of my Bhakti. Oh Lord Shiva, give me pure Bhakti. So that is our prayer. So in the end, we can see that in the 15th chapter, auspicious activities are described as part of the banyan tree. So gradually now Krishna is described here in this 13, 14, 15 chapter, the godly qualities. In 16th chapter, which we will see next week, he will describe the demoniac qualities. So these godly qualities that are there, that we already read today, the which he described: amanitvam, adambitvam, ahimsa, kshantirarjavam, acharyopasanam, shaucham, stairyam, atmo vinigraha. So let me read it once again. Humility, pridelessness, non-violence, tolerance, simplicity, approaching a bona fide spiritual master, cleanliness, steadiness, self-control, renunciation of the objects of sense gratification, absence of false ego, the perception of evil of birth, death, old age, disease, detachment, freedom from entanglement with wife, children, home, and rest, even-mindedness amid pleasant and unpleasant events, constant and unalloyed devotion to me, aspiring to live in a solitary place, detachment from the general mass of people, accepting the importance of self-realization, and philosophical search for the absolute truth. All these I declare to be knowledge, and besides this, whatever there may be is ignorance. So basically, in the 13th chapter, Krishna describes that this body is the field of activity, the soul is the tenant, the super soul is the owner, and like a farmer puts a seed, plows the field and puts the crops. So the soul sows the activities in this body and reaps the result. So if he sows the seeds, spiritual seeds, then he will get spiritual results. So that is why Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said that bhakti, the creeper of bhakti. So we plant the seed of bhakti within our heart, and this creeper will grow. And it has to be watered by chanting Shravanam Kirtanam, Hare Krishna Mahamantra, and we give up all our negative qualities. So we have to cultivate spiritual qualities, and we have to go to the spiritual platform. And how to go to that spiritual platform? By the auspicious activities and by attaching ourselves to Krishna. Hare Krishna. So I will stop here. So any questions or comments? So unfortunately, today the video could not be transmitted. I will re-record this session later tonight, and I will with the video, and I will send it. Later tonight. So there will be another broadcast later tonight for this video, and try to send it over. So those who have missed this session or want to hear again, so I will do it later tonight once again on the same link, and we can do it as well. All right. So any questions or comments at this point? Anybody would like to ask? Any questions or comments? I'll be happy to answer.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Yes, Prabhu.
Prabhu, if Krishna is the controller of all good things and bad things, what we do, then why we go through all this suffering?
Why we go through suffering is, see, this, it is a part of our, in this material world, Krishna explains is dukkhalayam. Actually speaking, there is no pleasure or pain in this world in reality, because the soul is attached to the body, this appears real. For example, now there is India something, India or England, some match is going on. If you don't even watch that match, if you don't even care about it, no matter what happens, it doesn't affect you. Doesn't affect you in any way. But if you care to watch that match, then what happens? Then care to watch that match, then you become attached and the pleasure or pain will affect you. So similarly, this body, moment you get detached from this body, even if I hurt your hand, suppose I'm giving you a gross scenario. I have, suppose I have, like for example, when I am now dead, for example, and the soul comes out of this body, right? Now, then what happens to the body? It doesn't affect the soul. Whether you or one finger of your body is separated from your hand, then how you chop off that finger or put fire to that finger, does it affect you? You won't feel the pleasure and pain at all. So similarly, in this world, an intelligent person, that is what Krishna says to Arjuna in the Bhagavad-Gita, that as long as you are attached to the body, to the relatives, to the friends, to this and that, as long as the attachment is there, then based on your perception, you will experience pleasure or pain. So if you read the, there is also in the Srimad Bhagavatam, Avanti Brahmana. So Avanti Brahmana, he was a very miserly person. He never used to give. He used to always cheat people, save money. And then later on, he lost all his money. And then the same people whom he used to cheat, they started urinating on him, spitting on him and everything. In the end, he realized that this is all action and reaction of what I am doing. But if I detach my mind, I will not feel the pain. I will not suffer for this pain. There is pain, but there is no suffering. Suffering means you get attached to being in a non-painful position. So you are not, you are detached from the pleasure and pain. So reality is perceived, material reality is perceived to the extent you are connected or attached to this world. So if you give up all attachment, for example, Parikshit Maharaj, he was listening to the Srimad Bhagavatam 7 days, 7 nights. And he was supposed to be bitten by this Takshaka snake. So at the end of the 7th day after the Bhagavad Gita, the snake sneaked in somehow. Right? The snake sneaked in somehow. And then what happens? The snake bites him. Now it is said that he did not experience any pleasure or pain. He did not experience any pain. And he was reduced to ashes because he was in a transcendental consciousness. He had withdrawn from the body. So yoga means a gradual withdrawal from all the things that affect you materially. So if we cultivate spiritual life, then gradually you will see that the material things will not affect you so much. Of course, one needs basic maintenance, basic life, basic, all these things are there, but bare minimum. And then you come to a point gradually by the practice of yoga, because we see ourselves as a product of material nature. I come from this family, I'm this and that, and because of this identification is there, we identify with our past success, failures. We identify with the present situation in the material world where we are subjected to. So yoga means, frankly speaking, to come to that highest platform where these things become insignificant. For example, if I am sitting on an aeroplane and I am high in the sky, then my house will look so small and I see the whole universe. So, similarly, right now everything looks very big because we feel we are a tiny part of this world and we are suffering. But actually, if we cultivate spiritual life, we cultivate it to that extent, then gradually all these things will become insignificant. So it is relative. It's a question of how strongly we cultivate spiritual life. To that extent, our spiritual life, our perception and suffering in this material world varies. So I hope that answers. Would you like some more clarification?
Yes, thank you, Prabhu.
Okay. So any other questions, comments? That was a very nice question, actually, because in general, we definitely do have this material world is meant for suffering. So how do you come out of it, right? So that can be come out by practice and detachment, like Krishna says. All right. So looks like there are no questions. So I will once again stream this session tonight, later tonight, for the live audience, because unfortunately the video did not come out for today's class. So even if you're watching video, it's only the audio that is streaming. I don't know how that happened, but I will try to stream because I want to record a video. And so we will catch up once again. I will try to also call you all individually and hope to catch up with your understanding and encourage you to chant, read, and cultivate more spiritual life, apply this more practically. So thank you very much, and see you all. So this week I'll be calling all or most of you, and before the next class, the next class will be next week. So I will try to have one session and then one follow-up final session before I speak to you individually and have a test. So watch out for the next one busy week. All right. Hare Krishna. So somebody please email live broadcast time. Yes, sure. I will email once the things are set. Sure. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.